I am really excited to just have this conversation with you to get to know like what menopause really means for us as women, why we have this huge hype around it, why it feels debilitating for many of us as women, like once it happens to our bodies, and what to do about it. And really just have an honest conversation with you about that, your story, and why you decided to make this really amazing cream that you have now.
Well, I'm a physician assistant, and I've been working in medical practices for over 23 years or so. And when I was working in family practice, I would see a lot of different families, but separately. So I would see the men, and I'd always say to them, "So how are things going at home?" And I can't tell you how many times men would say to me, "I love my wife, but I just can't live without sex." I heard this so many times. I'm thinking, how can I work with this? And then, of course, later on in the year, I would see the wife for her physical. I'd say, "So how's the sex life going?" And she would say, "Oh, we don't have sex anymore." Well, I'd say, "Why not?" And they'd say, "Well, I don't feel like it." I'd say, "You don't feel like it? Well, he still wants it, right?" "Oh, yeah, but I don't feel like it, so we don't have it." How can I fix this problem? So the more I learned about hormones, the more I realized that the changes that occur in midlife can be really profound, especially the vaginal changes and the libido changes.
Why do you think there is a drastic shift to I'm a sexual woman and I like to have sex to just like, no, I don't want to have sex anymore. It doesn't interest me.
There's a lot of factors in sexual response.
Yeah.
I mean, women today are working, they're mothers, they're in the PTA, they're taking care of aging parents. By the time they get home, it's like, talk to the hand. They've done enough for the day, they're exhausted and they're stressed out. That's one reason for not wanting sex. But another one, which is huge, is in your 40s and early 50s, there's a lot of physical changes going on in the body that impact our sexual desire and response, our energy, and everything.
I mean, I think that's such a real conversation, especially, in today's modern world with women where we are holding so much, like you said, we are often the bosses of our own career. We're, moving forward in so many ways. We have children, we're traveling so much, we're just holding a lot. So of course, when there is any kind of stress, there's less sex and less desire for intimacy. And then on top of that, your body is changing. And you mentioned bioidentical hormones, and that seems to be your specialty. What's the purpose of that? At what point would a woman need that?
Bioidentical hormones are hormones that exactly match the ones in your body. And they're prescribed to replace what you lose in perimenopause and menopause. They're different from the old hormones that our mothers and grandmothers took, which was Premarin, made from pregnant mare urine, pregnant horses, and synthetic progestins. That's what they took back in the day. But now, most doctors can prescribe hormones that are actually bioidentical.
My kind of outlook on menopause, just like when we start our menstruation, it's just a rite of passage. But I don't think that's how it's, many people think about it in our culture.
I felt the same way. This is a natural process in life. But when you think about it, the life we're living now is a lot longer than it was 100 years ago. 100 years ago, we had babies at 18 and we were pretty much done by 50. We were dead or old ladies in rocking chairs. But today, our life can go into our 80s or 90s. And the question is, how do we want to live those extra 40, 50 years or however many we get?
The bioidentical hormone replacement, what does it actually do in the body?
Women on hormone replacement therapy actually have a 30% lower all-cause mortality. The number one cause of death in older women is heart disease. Starting hormones early will help preserve the cardiac system from plaque, clots, and heart attacks. It helps keep our bones stronger. It helps us continue to have muscle and not become super weak. It helps with the vaginal symptoms. It helps us sleep better. I don't think I could handle my 5 grandsons under 8 years old if I didn't have hormones.
When do you recommend taking this kind of hormone? Do you think it would be good for someone like me who hasn't reached that, but like, I feel like I have all those symptoms and a 12-year-old son, like or is it something that you really specifically want to take when you start reaching perimenopause?
Some women in their late 30s do notice huge changes in their menstrual patterns, in their moods, increasing PMS, not able to put on muscle. Some of them start perimenopause quite early, can't sleep. Now, a lot of that is due to stress because we do way too much than we ever did before in history. Usually women in their 40s start to have changes and they come in and we can start replacing the hormones as they lose them. Right now, after your age 30, your bones continue to lose calcium. And when you hit menopause, that accelerates. So when you get into perimenopause, replacing early is a great thing to do.
So one of the questions that I had, I might just read off these questions because I got a lot from my audience, which I'd love to be able to answer them. And one was about the bioidentical versus the pharmaceutical hormone replacement. Why is one better than the other?
Well, bioidentical matches our exact molecule in our body. A lot of people don't realize that the hormones available pharmaceutically are actually bioidentical. The estrogen patches and creams that they have out now are bioidentical estradiol. They have natural progesterone. Most doctors, if they do any kind of hormones, will not give you Premarin or Provera, the synthetic ones. They won't do that anymore. But what you don't see the average doctor do is compounding. There is no pharmaceutical product of testosterone for women. So there's maybe 20 kinds of testosterone for men in their formulation and dosages, but there's none for women. And women have quite a bit of testosterone in their bodies, but not as much as men.
Right. And testosterone is what we need to start feeling sexual, right? It helps our sexual desire.
It helps our desire. It helps us put on muscle. It helps protect our bones. It gives us that zest for living.
And there's nothing available on the market for that?
No, you have to get it through a compounding pharmacist. And a lot of doctors aren't trained in compounding. Testosterone can really help. It helps women kind of come alive.
Yeah.
In ways.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about vaginal atrophy. That is something that a few of my clients had asked me about. And can you just explain what that is?
Vaginal atrophy is when your body loses estrogen. You also lose the estrogen in your vaginal tissues. You know, when a little girl before puberty has very small labia, and then she hits puberty and the labia grow and they get all elastic and discharge and all those things happen. That's from estrogen. Vagina becomes stretchy and elastic. But when you lose your estrogen, the opposite occurs. The tissues shrink, they become thin. Some people even bleed when they try to have sex. You lose sensation. You predispose yourself to increased urinary tract infections because of the changes in the pH. Estrogen is really, really important to repair vaginal atrophy. It's called the genitourinary syndrome of menopause, GSM. And that includes the bladder, the urethra, all around that area. It's all affected by estrogen. When women have leakage, it's not usually because they had 12 kids. It's because they're losing estrogen and everything is sagging.
So can you do that through pelvic floor exercises or even self-pleasure practices?
That's really, really helpful because self-pleasure will help keep the blood flow going. Pelvic floor exercises will keep things working because it can be either too tight or too loose. All of that's really important, but I think you need the estrogen or the DHEA to keep the tissues soft.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, DHEA is a hormone that is actually a precursor hormone of estrogen and testosterone. So you can add estrogen to the vaginal tissues, or you can add DHEA, and you basically get the same results. DHEA is typically an over-the-counter supplement also used for adrenals.
And so you can use it topically or you have to take it internally?
Absolutely. There's a pharmaceutical DHEA suppository that you can use. You have to get a prescription. That works great. It's an everyday suppository. But I realized, DHEA is over the counter. So using DHEA topically in a cream can really help the tissues, just like estrogen. But the secret about DHEA is that it not only increases the moisture, it increases sensitivity.
So your product not only serves as like this very nutritious cream, it also can be like a lubrication, right?
Oh yeah. It has hyaluronic acid in it, coconut oil, things that help plump up the skin just like you'd use it on your face.
Can you put it on your face? I think I actually did. I think I put it under my eyes.
I've been using it.
Yeah.
It has everything that a good moisturizer has in it.
Yeah.
And there are creams that have estriol in it, and one of the estrogens that helps. Because when you lose estrogen, that's when you get the wrinkles and the dry skin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, menopause does a lot of stuff that we don't like.
Some of the women had questions about hot flashes, hair loss, these kind of things, these transitions that we go through. Are these things that the bioidentical hormones would help, or maybe that your creams would help with?
Well, hot flashes, you really need to do estrogen. Usually hot flashes are worse at the beginning of menopause, and in perimenopause, they do mostly go away eventually, but the other things persist. For example, if you have vaginal dryness and you don't continue to treat it, it will continue to deteriorate. The tissues shrink. It can get really, really painful for them.
So this cream that you have, I know I've been using it all around my vulva. You can use it internally though also. It's safe for that?
You can pretty much put it maybe an inch or so inside. That's where the testosterone receptors are in the vaginal opening.
How do you think this would help women in their desire or intimacy?
With menopause, it gets really difficult to orgasm. Things are dry, the vagina doesn't work as well. If you use this cream right before sex, it can really, really help. So I recommend use it as a daily moisturizer, but definitely add some more right before sex. It kind of gets you pre-lubricated and increases the sensitivity.
If you're not wanting to have sex with your partner anymore, that's not happening, just using it during, with a toy or self-pleasure with your fingers, with your hands, is that?
Definitely, because you want to keep the tissues in shape to prevent the atrophy, the sagging, the leakage, and the worsening UTIs. UTIs can be really dangerous for older women. In reality, doctors only get about 1 hour of menopause training in their whole training. Baby boomers are all menopausal, so there's a lot of us out there, and we're all starting to talk about it.
We were talking earlier about the workshop that's coming up, which we're going to bring your products to, which I'm so excited to share them and have all the women try them, where we're going to be practicing touching our bodies and practicing self-pleasure. But a lot of these women come and they've already had a kid, had a marriage, and they're like, okay, now I'm finally it's taken me 40 years or whatever, but now I'm finally in touch with my body and I want to know how to actually use it. And unfortunately, for most of us in this generation, it's taking that long for us actually to have these open conversations and have access to information or find the right cream. So fuck yes, we should definitely have these, additive supplements that we can actually enjoy our bodies at this age.
Most of the women I talk to, they've been giving their whole life, and it's time for them to have something for themselves that they can still have pleasure, and it can be wonderful no matter how old they are. It's great fun to see them coming back to life.
Yeah. Do you have a story? Can you?
Oh, it's so funny. One lady, she's about 67, and she was divorced for a long time, and she went to a high school reunion and met up with an old friend. And they're dating now, and she's so cute. She says the sex is so amazing, and now they're sending dick pics. I'm like, are you sending pictures too? She says, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, how great is that she could have this next life in her late 60s and be so excited. Can you imagine how much better marriages could be if we didn't have to spend so much time figuring it out?
We all want to know. There's no holding back from pleasure. It's just that we have not had the resources. I think that's the downfall.
And it's never too late to learn to have pleasure. And when you get to be menopausal, it's time. It's time to quit taking care of everyone and take care of yourself. and
So do
live
you feel like there can be a shift of like an amazing, great sex life after having menopause, going through menopause?
Absolutely. Kids are out of the house. You can focus on pleasure. You're not working. You're getting rid of stress.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get yourself in the mindset, get your hormones balanced. It can be the best time of your life.
What do you think is most misunderstood about menopause?
Most misunderstood is that we really need to replace the hormones that we've lost. It will really help the rest of your life. We don't need to suffer. We're living a long life, longer than we ever thought possible. How do we want to live it? Do we want to live it with dried up vaginas, or do we want to be enjoying what we can enjoy however we can when we're getting older?
So just to finish this up, I know everybody's really excited about where they can find your products. I want to definitely say, if you are signing up for the Body Sex Workshop this December 9th and 10th, you're going to actually receive a gift bag where you get to try these products. We're going to be using them in the workshop as well when we're practicing vulva massage and self-pleasure. And we might have a special appearance. Jane might be there as well, so you'll get an up-close and personal connection with her and ask her as many questions as you want. But if you can't make it to the workshop, then where can people find your products and get in touch with you?
Our website is orovana.com, OROVANA.
Beautiful.
Look for the Rejuvenate Cream. That's the number one important one.
Rejuvenate Cream. All right, great. We'll go out and get it today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Glad to be here.